Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. She took everything but my silence. I signed the divorce papers with a steady hand. Not because I was ready, but because I had to make her believe I was broken. Chelsea did not even look at me. Her eyes were locked on the judge. Her voice was sharp, professional, cold. Your Honor, I request full custody of our daughter. He has combat PTSD. He is emotionally volatile. It is not safe. I sat there, silent, staring forward. She painted me as a threat, a man shaped by war. Dangerous. She was clever. Her lawyer was even worse. An old friend of mine, a man who used to toast beers with me at my engagement party, now called me unstable in court. I could hear her friends behind us whispering, "Poor Chelsea. She is so brave to get out." Brave? She had been sleeping with another man for 7 months. And I knew exactly who he was, where he worked, what he drove, what time he picked her up from that fake yoga studio every Thursday night. Troy Keller, real estate agent, high school acquaintance, fake smile. And somehow he was always around. I knew. I had known for months. But I said nothing. Because I needed her to finish the divorce. I needed her to sign first. She thought she had won. She thought she had taken everything from me. The house, the money, our daughter. But she had no idea what I was about to take from her. Because the child she claimed was hers, she never even gave birth to her. And that secret was going to destroy her entire world. What kind of mother loses a child she never really had, and never even knew it? Wait, I need to tell you something important. Have you ever realized that you keep watching my videos but haven't subscribed yet? This video has reached this point, which means you're enjoying it. So why not subscribe? I have a big goal, 10,000 subscribers, and you can help me reach it. Think about it. If you don't subscribe now, you might miss my next big video. This is the moment. Hit that subscribe button now. Do it now. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss out. I know you'll do it. And when we hit 10,000 subscribers, I have a special surprise for you. Now let's continue story. I served 10 years in Special Forces. My body was scarred. My mind sharpened. I had survived deserts, jungles, interrogations, and ambushes. But nothing prepared me for the way Chelsea said goodbye. It is not working anymore, Logan. You are distant. You are intense. I am done. That was it. No apology. No remorse. Just a sentence and a cold stare. She said it while holding a mug that I bought her from Baghdad. She said it after sleeping with another man the night before. I knew the signs. The locked phone. The whispered calls in the bathroom. The new lingerie that I never saw her wear for me. I started tracking it all. At first, I tried to convince myself I was wrong. I made excuses. She is stressed. She is tired. It is just work. But then I found the hotel key card. Room 431. Embassy Suites. I called in a favor. My buddy in recon used to joke that nothing escapes a trained eye. Turns out, that night, Chelsea did not even change her name when she booked the room. She used our anniversary date as the reservation code. That was what broke me. Not the cheating, not the lies, but how easy it was for her. Like it meant nothing. I confronted her once. Calmly, I asked her if she was happy. She blinked twice and said, "Do not start." That was it. So I made a decision. I would let her dig her own grave. Because my silence was not weakness. It was strategy. And every day she thought I was falling apart. I was building a case. The burner phone was the turning point. It was buried under sports bras, leggings, and a bottle of fake perfume she never actually wore. I found it while packing Lily's bag for her weekend trip. Chelsea was not home. She was working late. The screen was locked, but the wallpaper was what made my stomach turn. A photo of Chelsea in bed, winking. And next to her, Troy, shirtless, grinning like he had won. I had not even opened the text yet. I just stared at the image. Then I picked up my phone, snapped a photo, and placed hers right back where I found it. I did not touch anything else. I wanted her to think she was still safe. That was the night I stopped feeling pain. The sadness turned to precision. I ordered a small device online. GPS tracker. I planted it under her car the next morning. She was not just having an affair. She was predictable about it. Every Thursday, every Sunday afternoon, sometimes Tuesday lunches, and always Embassy Suites, room 431. Once I knew her routine, I followed Troy. I wanted to know if he was just a cheater or something worse. That is when I realized he worked at Raxon Dynamics. Same as Chelsea. That name mattered, because I remembered a mission briefing 2 years ago about Raxon being under quiet federal investigation for fraud involving military contracts. Suddenly, this was not just infidelity. This was a setup. I was being used. My clearance, my deployments, my military access, all somehow connected to her and Troy's little love story. I was not just a betrayed husband. I was a mark, and I was done playing their fool. I had always believed war taught me patience. But betrayal? Betrayal taught me calculation. Chelsea walked through the house like nothing was wrong. She laughed at sitcoms, kissed Lily on the forehead, wore my old army hoodie like it still meant something. But I knew everything. The texts, the meetings, the second phone, the real reason she pushed for full custody. She was not afraid of me. She was afraid of what I might discover. That was her first mistake. I stopped asking questions. I stopped reacting. Instead, I became invisible. I cooked dinner. I asked how her day was. I tucked Lily in. Meanwhile, I documented everything. Every location she visited. Every wire transfer I traced. Every lie she told our daughter. I had a drive hidden in the back of a hollowed-out book on my shelf. The same one she gifted me during our 5th anniversary. To my soldier, always. The irony was delicious. One night, Chelsea left her work laptop open. She always thought I would never touch her things. She was wrong. Emails, financial records, client notes. One name kept appearing, Raxon Dynamics. The company that had just landed a new government contract. The same company where Troy now worked in acquisitions. The documents were not just about office budgets. They were access logs to military site proposals, defense-grade encryption, and secured blueprints that matched the missions I had been assigned overseas. My gut twisted. They had used me. Chelsea had been sleeping with a man who used my classified knowledge to climb corporate ranks, and she was in on it. But I said nothing, because a storm does not warn the ocean before it hits. It just arrives, full force, and levels everything in its path. There is a certain silence you learn in the field, the kind that means something is watching you. I felt that same silence in my own home. Chelsea would smile a little too easily, ask questions about my past assignments. Did you say you were near Kandahar or Herat? What kind of clearance do they give at that level again? Too specific, too rehearsed. It was not curiosity. It was collection. She was pulling pieces from me. Pieces I thought were meaningless until I saw them appear in documents with Raxon's watermark. My deployment summaries, supply routes, airbase coordinates, slightly modified but mine. And then I remembered something I had dismissed months ago, a seemingly casual night when Troy had been over during a barbecue. He had asked about drone targeting specs, just joking around, said he had read something about it on Reddit. Now I saw it for what it was. They had been laying this out long before the affair began. The affair was not just lust. It was leverage. I had become the perfect source. Military clearance. Absent for long stretches. Trusted. Disposable. They were playing a long game. I started to play my own. I used an old friend from the service, Harper, now deep into cyber forensic work. I gave her just one file. Within hours, she called back. Logan, this is not just internal corruption. This is federal-level stuff. Someone is going to prison for this. Maybe more than one. I stared at the photo of Chelsea on our mantle. Our wedding photo. Her smile, fake now in hindsight. I whispered to myself, no, they are all going to prison. This was no longer about my marriage. This was about national security. And it was going to be Chelsea's undoing. Losing custody of Lily did not break me. What broke me was how easily the court believed her. Your Honor, my client has reason to believe Mr. Barrett suffers from untreated psychological trauma that makes him unfit to parent unsupervised. That was what her lawyers said. The same man who once toasted us at our wedding. The same man who once thanked me for my service with tears in his eyes. Now, he passed Chelsea notes during the hearing like they were high school kids in class. The judge looked at me. No history of violence. No arrests. Clean record. But the word veteran sometimes casts a shadow darker than reality. They made it sound like I was one wrong move away from harming my own daughter. Chelsea had prepared this. She had gathered old texts from my worst days. Messages where I admitted feeling numb after a mission. Messages never meant to be courtroom ammo. She turned my honesty into a weapon. I was given supervised visitation. 2 weekends per month. 2 hours at a time. No overnights. And Lily? She cried every time they took her from me. Daddy, why do I not live with you anymore? I had no answer. Not yet. But I would. Because I had just received the DNA results. And Chelsea's name was nowhere near that bloodline. The girl she claimed in court, under oath, was her biological daughter? She was mine. And only mine. Not by blood, but by law. Chelsea had never filed for full legal adoption. Lily's birth mother had named me the guardian after she died. And that meant Chelsea had just committed perjury in a federal courtroom. The custody battle was not over. It had only just begun. The worst part about betrayal is realizing how many people helped it happen. It was a Friday night. Lily had just gone to sleep. I sat alone on the couch, scrolling through a backup copy of Chelsea's deleted texts. Harper had helped recover them. One thread stood out. Her group chat with 3 of her closest friends. Jen, he still has no idea. Chelsea, none. Poor guy is out there playing soldier. Meanwhile, I'm getting my back blown out by a man who actually listens to me. Maya, tell him it's yoga again. Classic. Chelsea, he believed it last time. Logan is all muscle and no brain. I did not blink. Did not react. I just kept reading. Photos. Screenshots. Jokes at my expense. Memes of military husbands getting cheated on. A selfie of Chelsea and Troy in my backyard. One of her sitting on his lap in my truck. I could hear blood pounding in my ears, but I refused to let it show. These were not just cruel. They were coordinated. They covered for her. Lied for her. Helped her hide weekend trips with Troy by tagging her in fake locations. I remember Jen bringing me soup when I came back from surgery. I thought it was kindness. Now I saw the smirk she tried to hide. It was not just an affair. It was mockery. Every smile they gave me was part of the performance. I saved every screenshot into a new folder. Collateral. Because this was not going to be a story about a broken man. It was going to be a story about every single person who stood by and laughed while they helped burn down my life. And I was going to make sure the world knew who they really were. I spent years training for missions where failure meant death. Covert entries. Psychological profiling. Human surveillance. Data manipulation. And yet, somehow, these people thought I would just walk away from this quietly. They mistook my calm for weakness. My silence for surrender. They had no idea. I started slow. Quiet. I began tracking not just Chelsea and Troy, but everyone involved. Her lawyer, her friends, even her boss at Raxon. I ran backgrounds, checked court records, verified employment histories. Raxon's financials were full of holes. Several fake vendor contracts. Government grants redirected to offshore accounts. This was not just betrayal. It was a criminal web. I kept every move legal. Every step documented. Harper helped me install invisible trace software on Chelsea's burner phone the next time she carelessly left it out. Now, every text she sent, I saw. Every photo, every call log. She had no idea she was feeding me the evidence that would bury her. One night, while she was out working late, I went to Lily's room. She was drawing a picture of our family. Why is Mommy not in this one? I asked gently. Lily shrugged. Because she is always with that other man. The one with the shiny car. My chest tightened. I kissed her forehead and whispered, "You will never have to lie for anyone again." She looked up at me. "Are we going to be okay, Daddy?" I nodded. "We are going to be better than okay." That night, I printed out every recovered message and photo. I labeled them, logged them, and stored copies with 3 different attorneys across state lines. What came next had to be perfect, because I was not just going to expose them. I was going to erase their masks in front of everyone. The divorce was finalized on a Monday morning. I wore my uniform to court, not because I needed to, but because I wanted her to see what she threw away. Chelsea showed up late, smiling like she had already won. Her new diamond necklace sparkled under the courtroom lights, the same lights that made her skin look paler than usual. She barely glanced at me. The judge made it official in under 10 minutes. Divorced. Custody to her. Child support calculated based on a salary I no longer had. On paper, I lost everything. But the paper was only the surface. As I walked out of the courthouse, my phone buzzed. Harper's message. Upload complete. Server secured. Next move is yours. The case file I had built, over 200 pages of corruption, adultery, and fraud, was now backed up in 5 separate cloud locations, with timed releases programmed in. If anything happened to me, the entire world would know who Chelsea really was. I climbed into my truck, looked at my reflection in the mirror, and for the first time in months, I smiled. Because while she thought the divorce was the end, it was only the trigger. She had won the battle. Now it was time to start the war, and I was going to fight it the only way I knew how, with precision. I drove straight to a quiet building on the edge of town. A contact I had not spoken to in 4 years waited inside. A man who once helped dismantle foreign cybercrime rings. I handed him the drive and said 5 words. Time to burn them all. He nodded. No mercy. I stared at the screen showing Chelsea's text history lighting up in real time. Not even a little. It had been 48 hours since the judge stamped our divorce. Chelsea was already flaunting her new life online. Her Instagram was filled with posts, champagne flutes, rooftop views, the caption, new beginnings. New love, no regrets. I knew exactly what she was doing. Rewriting the story before I could speak. Painting me as the bitter ex-soldier. Cold, broken, distant. And Troy? He was in every second photo. The smiling, stable partner. He even posted a photo with Lily, my daughter. I stared at the screen and clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. They had no idea what was coming. While they posed for cameras, I was working. My friend Elias, a cyber intel analyst who now ran a private firm, had just finished scanning Raxon's internal emails. Logan, this is massive, Elias said, pulling up several threads. Purchase orders routed through dummy corporations. Government contract data exported at odd hours. And embedded metadata showing file access from Troy Keller's employee credentials. He was not just sleeping with my wife. He was selling national secrets. Chelsea was complicit. Emails showed her deleting alerts, covering digital footprints, cleaning documentation trails. It was all here. I had enough to go to the FBI, but I waited. I wanted Chelsea to get comfortable. Arrogant. I needed her to feel untouchable. So I let her have the spotlight. I let her think I was gone. Broken. Defeated. In reality, I was building the case of a lifetime. The kind of case that does not just destroy marriages. It buries reputations, freezes assets, and sends people away for years. And when it drops, no amount of filtered photos or public sympathy will save her. Only the truth. And I am done keeping it quiet. It was just after noon when I tailed Troy's black Audi out of the Raxon parking garage. I stayed 3 cars behind. Never too close. Never too far. I had done this 100 times in foreign cities. Only this time, the target was a man who used to high-five me at barbecues. He drove like he had nothing to hide. Smooth, confident, talking on speakerphone as if no one could ever touch him. I recorded everything. Dash cam running. Mic hidden inside the center console. He made a stop at a boutique law office. 15 minutes in. 12 out. I ran the license plate of the attorney's car through a military database I still had quiet access to. The name came back flagged. Rhonda Gaskin, currently under federal audit for laundering offshore payments through tech firms. That was it. They were not just cheating. They were laundering money through the company. Chelsea and Troy were involved in something that extended beyond heartbreak. This was organized fraud. I parked 2 blocks away and waited. Troy walked out, took a call, and said something that hit me like a hammer. Yeah, tell Chelsea the Barrett file has been scrubbed. No connection. He will never figure it out. Wrong. I already had. He laughed, walked back to his car, drove off toward the country club. I sent the recording to Elias with one line. Log everything. Timestamp the call. Then I sat in the driver's seat, fingers tapping the steering wheel. My pulse was steady, my vision clear. I was not chasing them anymore. Now, I was setting traps. They were dancing on borrowed time, and I had just started pulling strings they did not even know were attached. I stood in my living room staring at the manila envelope from the lab. Inside was the final confirmation. Chelsea was not Lily's biological mother. She had never been. Lily was born to a young woman named Elena Torres, a medic who served briefly alongside my unit. We had one night of chaos during a mission rotation. Months later, she reached out. Pregnant. Alone. She never asked me for anything. When she passed from complications after childbirth, her final letter named me sole guardian. Chelsea and I were already married by then. She stepped into the role like it was natural. I never questioned it. But she never filed adoption papers. Never made it legal. She pretended. Posed. And when we divorced, she claimed Lily as hers. In court. On record. Under oath. I sat down and read the report again. DNA mismatch. No maternal relation. It was not just betrayal now. It was perjury. And it would cost her everything. I walked into Lily's room. She was playing with toy soldiers on the carpet. Sweetheart, I said softly, kneeling down. Do you remember when Mommy told the judge you live with her now? Lily nodded. She said it is because she is the mom. I swallowed hard. Do you feel like she is your mom? She looked at me. I used to, but not lately. That was enough. I called my new attorney that evening, a military family law specialist who owed me a favor. I handed him the DNA results, the custody ruling, the adoption file Chelsea never submitted. His eyes narrowed. You just gave me everything I need to rip her case apart. I nodded. Do it. Quietly at first. But when it breaks, I want it to break everywhere. I always believed betrayal ends at the bedroom. But it was the boardroom that cut deeper. The man Chelsea hired as her divorce lawyer was not just a random high-powered suit. His name was Aaron Fields, and he used to be mine. We had shared drinks at my promotion party. He helped me with legal documents when I re-enlisted. He held Lily in the hospital when she was born. So when I saw his name on the opposition's paperwork, I felt something in my chest break. At first, I thought it was coincidence. But then I saw the email. Buried deep in Chelsea's cloud backups, recovered by Harper. Aaron, Logan trusts me. He always has. We will make sure he looks unstable. Let me do the talking in court. Chelsea, perfect. I want the house, the kid, and the story. The story. She was not just divorcing me. She was building a narrative. Military husband goes off the rails. Poor wife finds peace in the arms of another man. Clean. Simple. Social media gold. They had weaponized my loyalty. I forwarded the email to my new attorney with one note. Add bar complaint to the list. And send a copy to the ethics board. This was no longer a personal case. It was turning into professional misconduct. I knew it would not reverse everything overnight, but it would start the fall. Aaron had built his reputation on ethics and honor. I was about to show the world what that really meant. They all thought I was still fighting over a woman. They had no idea this was now about principles, not passion. And I would take every fake smile, every staged hearing, every whispered lie, and flip it like a blade in the dark. One cut at a time. The notification came at 2:47 a.m. New post made by account at Barrett Burns Them All. I blinked, sat up in bed, and clicked the link. There it was, a Twitter account. Dozens of posts. Photos of Chelsea and Troy in intimate settings. Some of them clearly edited, but some real. Hashtags like hashtag PTSD Psycho and hashtag BitterSoldierX filled the captions. Comments poured in. Most believed it was me. Some defended me. Others crucified me. But the damage was not the point. The point was perception. I called Harper immediately. She picked up, groggy. Already saw it, she said. I am tracing it now. By 6 a.m., she had an answer. The IP address was registered to a coffee shop Wi-Fi in East Austin. But the login device was traced to Troy's office laptop. Idiot did not even mask his MAC address, she said with a grin. They were trying to create a digital trail. Make me look unhinged. Obsessive. Dangerous. Harper handed me a folder. Here is everything. Metadata, session logs, time-stamped locations. Rock solid. I stared at the screen. It was one thing to betray a man behind closed doors, but to try to paint him as a public threat, to twist his name online in front of friends, family, potential employers. That was a different kind of war, one I had trained for. I printed the evidence, added it to the case file, and copied it onto a secure drive marked Digital Defamation, Tier 2 Retaliation. I did not just want them embarrassed. I wanted them held accountable in a courtroom, on public record, in headlines. They lit a match on my name. Now I was going to show them what happens when a soldier builds the fire himself, and make sure everyone watches it burn. In war, alliances mean survival. In revenge, they mean precision. I had built my team quietly, one favor at a time. Harper, from Army Cyber Intel. Elias, a private sector security contractor. And now, Marcy Bennett, a former NSA contractor turned digital forensics auditor. Marcy owed me her life, literally. We crossed paths in Kandahar after a roadside ambush. I carried her 6 miles through sniper zones. Now, she was returning the favor. I handed her the drive. This has everything from racks and system. She nodded. Give me a week. It took her 3 days. Her voice on the phone was low. Serious. Logan, this is not just insider trading. This is military espionage. You are sitting on a federal bomb. I drove to her apartment and saw the files myself. Offshore routing. Encrypted messages between Troy and a Raxon executive. Documented leak points, coordinates, drone schedules, even comms traffic from FOBs. And Chelsea's name appeared on 2 signed approval chains. She knew. She signed off on transfers. Disguised them as client reports. This was no longer a matter of broken vows or even custody. It was national betrayal. I looked Marcy in the eye. What happens if I bring this to the Bureau? They will bury it. Unless it hits the press first. You need to make this public before they can silence it. I exhaled. Then I nodded. Okay, let's go loud. Marcy smiled. Do you want to destroy them? No, I said. I want to ruin them slowly and legally in full daylight. She laughed. You always were theatrical. I looked out the window at the Austin skyline. It is not about theater anymore, I whispered. It is about justice. And I want every damn hand that touched this to feel what justice really looks like. Sometimes revenge does not come from rage. Sometimes it is born in quiet patterns that others miss. I was reviewing court transcripts when I saw the name Judge Carl Mercer again. The man who gave Chelsea full custody and signed off on emergency asset freeze requests against me, with no hearing. Something about it stuck in my head. I pulled up his file. Nothing strange on the surface, clean record, decades of service. But then I found a social post. A retirement dinner. He was tagged. So was a man named Benjamin Mercer. I ran the name through Harper's clearance pipeline. Result, Senior VP of Contracts, Raxon Dynamics. There it was. The same company where Chelsea and Troy worked. The same company whose secrets I had just uncovered. The same company trying to destroy me in court. It was not a coincidence. It was control. They were using family ties to ensure my custody loss. My financial setbacks. My silencing. I sent the file to my attorney with a single message. We appeal tomorrow. Conflict of interest confirmed. Add it to the motion. He responded 2 minutes later. This flips the table. And it did. Because when you are fighting people who think they are untouchable, you do not punch them in the face. You pull the rug out from under them and let them fall, loud, public, and with nowhere soft to land. The judge had been their final shield. Now, he was just another name on the list of those who forgot one thing. I am not the man you cheat and bury. I am the one who climbs out and buries you back. The art of war is knowing exactly when not to strike. So I waited. Chelsea posted happy photos with Troy. Raxon announced a new defense partnership. Everything looked perfect. That was when people get sloppy. I created a fake LinkedIn profile under the name Michael Briggs, ex-military, consulting for defense logistics. Impressive resume. Fabricated references. 3 days later, Raxon's internal recruiter reached out. They had no idea who I really was. I scheduled the interview. The office was sharp. Glass walls. Polished smiles. False charm. Chelsea was not there that day, which was perfect. I shook hands with the hiring director. I want to understand your chain of logistics, I said. Specifically how your acquisition process handles encryption relay from government sources. He blinked. That is confidential. I smiled. Then we are off to a good start. I planted 3 things that day. A keylogger USB in their public use workstation. A recording pin in a conference room drawer. A listening app on the lobby smart speaker, all of it legally gray. But all of it justified. Because the moment they decided to exploit a soldier's intel, they made this war personal. Later that night, Elias called. Logan, we are in. They just uploaded a batch of encrypted documents to an FTP server. It is exactly what you suspected. Contracts altered. Internal bribes disguised as marketing costs. And more signatures from Chelsea and Troy. Good, I said. Let them keep doing what they are doing. The higher they climb, the harder they fall. Elias paused. You are playing this like a long game. I am not playing, I replied. I am finishing what they started. There are moments in life that taste like fire. That one did. I was sifting through Chelsea's encrypted backups when I found a file titled Thursday_personal. I clicked it. There she was, lying in the bed we used to share. Nude. Smirking. Holding up 2 fingers like a peace sign. Sent to Troy. Timestamp 2 days after our custody hearing. The same day she had testified I was emotionally manipulative. My jaw tensed. My hands stayed still. No emotion. No reaction. Just calculation. The board of Raxon Dynamics was made up of 15 members, 8 of whom had access to ethics violation complaints submitted anonymously. I uploaded the photo to a secure report site. Attached with it, an internal memo showing Chelsea's role in confidential file handling, her affair with Troy, and a timeline clearly showing her behavior during classified contract development. I titled the report, Ethical Compromise of National Defense Integrity, Employee Misconduct, and Exploitable Personal Behavior. I submitted it at 4:12 a.m. By 8:30 a.m., Raxon's internal server showed a flurry of login attempts by board members. 2 HR managers flagged the image. By noon, both Chelsea and Troy were suspended, pending investigation. They had no clue I was behind it. Chelsea texted a friend, panicking. Someone found my old files. It's bad. Like, career-ending bad. I read it with cold eyes. No smile. No joy. Just progress. Because revenge is not about making noise. It is about making impact. And I had just turned her most private act into a public downfall, one image at a time. I was scrolling through a Raxon press release when I saw it. Lily, in a red dress, standing beside Chelsea at a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a military family outreach program. Troy was there too, arm around Chelsea, holding a plaque. The caption read, Celebrating the families that stand behind our heroes. I froze. They used my daughter. Without permission. Without my knowledge. I zoomed in. Lily looked confused. Stiff. Not smiling like she normally would. I checked the photo's metadata. Public. Embedded in the press kit. Circulating on at least 6 news outlets. This was more than a PR stunt. This was exploitation. I called my attorney immediately. She is not legally Chelsea's child, I said. They used her image without consent. That is a privacy violation and a legal bomb waiting to explode. He responded calmly. Perfect. We file a cease and desist, then hit the outlets with DMCA takedowns. After that, we sue for image exploitation of a minor. I forwarded the image to Harper. By the next day, it had been removed from 5 platforms. But the real blow came when I sent the file to Raxon's internal ethics team, this time under my real name. Attached was proof of Chelsea's lack of custody rights, the DNA report, and a legal warning. They had used a child in a corporate campaign, without verifying legal guardianship. Raxon went silent, then issued a weak public correction. Image previously included an error, no longer reflective of current campaigns. Error my ass. They had used Lily to make themselves look wholesome, patriotic, clean. And now? They looked reckless. And it was just the beginning. I first met Reed Hannigan in Iraq. He did not wear a uniform. He wore tailored suits and carried a leather satchel like a professor. But make no mistake, he hunted monsters. Military court prosecutor, known for taking down men no one else dared to touch. So when I walked into his office holding a folder of everything Chelsea, Troy, and Raxon had done, I saw his eyes light up like he had just been handed a new mission. He flipped through the files slowly. Financial fraud, custody manipulation, perjury, unauthorized image use, military contract leaks. When he closed the file, he leaned back and said one sentence. We can destroy them completely and never break a single law doing it. I nodded. That is why I came to you. Reed built the litigation roadmap like a military campaign. First, he reopened my custody case with the conflict of interest ruling, the DNA report, and the perjury documentation. Second, he launched a defamation countersuit for the burner's social media accounts. Third, the big one, he filed whistleblower paperwork with the DOJ, naming Chelsea and Troy as central figures in the Raxon fraud. This will not just wreck them personally, Reed said. It will indict everyone who helped them. He gave me one look before we signed the first motion. Are you sure you want to do this? I looked him in the eye. They used my loyalty, my child, and my silence. I am not just sure. I have never been more certain about anything in my life. He smiled. Good. Then let us make them remember your name, for all the right reasons. I had not planned to attend the Raxon Summer Gala. But when I saw the guest list, full of names tied to the cover-up, I could not resist. They were calling it a celebration of partnerships, a self-congratulatory event wrapped in military symbolism and polished lies. I arrived in a black suit, under a new name, Michael Briggs, still posing as a consultant. Chelsea was there, radiant in red, laughing like she had never seen a consequence in her life. Troy stood beside her, shaking hands with a defense contractor. I sipped a drink, watched, listened. Then, the moment came. The CEO took the stage, began thanking key team members for flawless contract executions. Chelsea and Troy were mentioned by name. Applause, cameras, smiles. That was when I hit send. Harper had prepared a media packet, documents, timestamps, message logs, evidence of the scandal, and scheduled it for release. Exactly when the CEO raised his glass. I watched from the crowd as phones buzzed. Staffers started whispering. Someone left the ballroom with a panicked face. Then another. Then 3. Chelsea pulled her phone. Her face drained of color. Troy stared at us like he had seen a ghost. A new headline had just gone live. Raxon execs under investigation for national security breach and internal ethics violations photos. Names. Evidence. The room's energy shifted in real time. Whispers turned to exits. The toast never finished. I walked past Chelsea on my way out. She caught my eyes. I gave her a nod. Not anger. Not hate. Just recognition. The war was no longer silent. Now the world was watching. I had learned one thing from every mission I survived overseas. Prepare for betrayal, even from the system. That is why I created the Vault, a digital time bomb, hidden behind 4 layers of encryption, disguised as a weather app on a remote server. If I failed to input a daily code, it would auto-distribute itself to media outlets, the DOJ, and private security forums. It contained every thread of this war. Chelsea's manipulation of Lily's custody, Troy's insider theft, Raxon's illegal defense data exports, Judge Mercer's conflict of interest, and yes, That photo Chelsea sent, in our bed, weeks after I had moved out. But I added one more thing to it. A video, just under 5 minutes. Me, sitting in uniform. No anger, no threats, just facts. My name is Logan Barrett. I served 10 years for this country. This is what my wife, her lover, and their employer did while I was protecting lives. I closed with one line. And if you are seeing this, then they tried to silence me. I uploaded the final version at midnight. Walked into the kitchen. Lily's drawing was still on the fridge, a house, a tree, me and her holding hands. That was why I had to finish this. Because they did not just try to ruin a man. They tried to take a father from his daughter. And now, if they came for me, they would trigger a storm they could never outrun. Some weapons are loud. Others are digital, silent, and final. Mine was both. I got the message from an anonymous number. Thought you should know. She is pregnant. And it is not Troy's either. At first, I dismissed it. But then another message followed. A forwarded appointment confirmation from a private OB/GYN clinic under Chelsea's name. The date matched a day she had told Lily she was out of town for a speaking event. I drove to the clinic. Did not enter. Just waited. 2 hours later, I saw him. Raxon's chief operating officer. Married. 3 kids. He walked out first. Chelsea followed a minute later, head down, sunglasses on. They said nothing to each other. Not even a glance. But I had seen enough. So had my lens. I sent the photo to Harper. In less than 20 minutes, she confirmed it. Bank transfers from the COO's personal account to Chelsea's savings. Repeated calls at midnight. One voice message she had not deleted. Chelsea, this is not going to work. You said you were handling it. Why the hell was your husband at the gala? It hit me. The affair with Troy was never about love. It was distraction. The real power play was higher. This child? Insurance. Leverage. Another piece in a sick corporate game of control. And that child might be born into lies so deep it would never know its own father. I looked at the photo again. Chelsea, who once stood beside me on a battlefield tarmac, pretending to be proud. Now trying to build an empire of deceit. But this empire? I was going to reduce it to ashes. Not for revenge. For truth. For the child she carried. And the one she tried to steal from me. It started with a call from an unfamiliar voice. Mr. Barrett, this is Agent Lyman with the Bureau. We need to speak with you immediately regarding a potential breach traced to your credentials. I met him 2 hours later. He was tall, composed, and flanked by 2 other agents. They laid a tablet on the table. A set of documents appeared, all marked with Department of Defense headers. Some of them I recognized. They were downloaded using your unique access key, uploaded from your IP. I stayed calm. I have not held active clearance since I left the service. And that IP was compromised 3 months ago. I filed a report on it. Lyman narrowed his eyes. Who else had access to your personal devices? My wife, I said flatly, before we separated. And her lover. They both work at Raxon Dynamics. I slid a folder across the table, the one Harper helped me prepare in case this moment came. Key logs, device traces, even a photo of Troy using my home computer during a barbecue, looking for a playlist. They had been planting the seeds for months. Jesus, one of the agents muttered. I leaned forward. You are looking at the wrong Barrett. I did not betray anything. I was the one being used. Agent Lyman nodded slowly. We will be in touch. Do not leave the state. I walked out calm, steady, but inside I burned. They had not just tried to ruin me legally. They were willing to paint me as a traitor, a man who bled for this country, now labeled a threat. That was the moment I decided. No more waiting. No more defense. It was time to go on offense. And I would do it with precision. The kind they had never seen before. I knew the moment I left that room, they were not sure what to believe. And that was fine. I did not need their trust. I needed their cooperation. 3 days later, I returned. This time, I brought a black briefcase and 2 signed affidavits. One from Harper, one from Marcy. Inside the case, device access logs from Raxon, payroll history showing hush money transfers, and a copy of Chelsea's email authorizing data cleansing. On a confidential server, Agent Lyman studied the files in silence. The room felt colder than last time. Then I handed him the drive. This is everything. Names, files, proof of breaches, the list of who signed what and when. You wanted your inside source. I am giving you the whole operation. Lyman looked up slowly. Why now? I leaned in. Because I need one thing back. What is that? Everything they stole from me, including my daughter. He closed the folder. We will need time to process this. You do not have time. If you delay, they will destroy more evidence. Lyman's jaw tightened. Are you asking for immunity? No, I said. I am asking for your help, exposing a system that protected them. He studied me for a long second. Then he nodded. You will have it. I walked out of that building with nothing in hand. But for the first time in months, I knew I was holding all the cards. They wanted to paint me as the threat. Now they would learn what a trained, methodical threat actually looks like. And I would use the truth as the weapon they never saw coming. The news segment aired on a Sunday afternoon, one of those quiet hours when the world thinks it is safe. A respected anchor sat across from a blurred-out voice recording. My voice. Calm. Direct. Exposing every detail. Underneath, the graphics ran fast and ruthless. Raxon executives linked to data breach scandal. National security whistleblower speaks out. Names include Chelsea Barrett and Troy Keller. It was everywhere within 20 minutes. Hashtags, shares, news alerts. And then, the camera cut to reactions from family members. Chelsea's mother, her father, both on camera, visibly shaken. We are shocked, her mother said. We supported Chelsea through everything. But this? They looked broken. Not just embarrassed, betrayed. Her father leaned into the mic. That soldier gave her everything. Everything. And she threw it away for lies and money. I sat in my living room, the volume low. Lily was coloring beside me, unaware. The screen shifted to old footage, our wedding day. Chelsea laughing. Me in uniform. Then a voiceover read aloud. And if you are seeing this, it means they tried to silence me, my video. Played across the country. The world now saw it for what it was. Not a marriage gone bad. Not a messy divorce. But a strategic betrayal, fueled by greed, cloaked in romance, executed against someone they never thought would fight back. Chelsea's phone records showed 27 missed calls that night, most from board members and publicists. She did not answer any. Because when your entire world is built on a lie, truth does not knock. It kicks the door down and brings cameras with it. The headline dropped like a hammer. DOJ investigating Raxon execs. Arrests imminent. I already knew what came next. Troy would panic. He had no loyalty, no backbone, only survival instincts. And just like I expected, he disappeared. I got the ping from Harper around midnight. Troy booked a private charter from Austin to Panama. Departure scheduled under a fake company name. I texted Elias one line. Do not stop him. Just watch. Because I knew something he did not. The charter company? Owned by a shell firm, flagged by Interpol last year. He was flying into a trap. I watched live flight data as the plane taxied. Watched it cross airspace. And then, Flight 9LF5 has been redirected by local authorities. Bingo. The next update came fast. Subject detained in Panama City for international financial crimes, pending U.S. extradition. I read the email. Calm. Still, letting him run was never about revenge. It was about strategy. Letting him prove his guilt. Letting him abandon Chelsea. Letting the world see exactly what kind of man he was. And now, she would face everything alone. No shield. No partner. No lie left untouched. Just her. A career in ruins. A baby on the way. And nowhere left to hide. I closed the laptop. Lily was asleep upstairs. Safe. I stepped outside into the cold air. For the first time in years, it felt clean. Because when justice moves slow, you do not chase it. You drag it into the light yourself. And make damn sure everyone watches it unfold. Power is not always taken. Sometimes, it is handed to someone just before it explodes in their hands. Raxon's board was spiraling. Half the leadership had stepped down under investigation. They needed a face, a distraction. Chelsea volunteered. Or maybe she thought it was her chance to own the narrative. So they named her acting CEO, a temporary position, with just enough rope to hang herself. I watched the live-streamed press conference. She looked polished, confident, wearing a navy blue suit, hair styled, voice calm. "We are committed to transparency," she said, "and to the men and women who serve this country." I almost laughed. The same woman who weaponized my service record, who lied about being Lily's mother, who used my silence like a shield, now pretending to stand for integrity. But I wanted this. Because Reed, my attorney, had already filed the DOJ brief naming Chelsea directly. The evidence was timed to drop exactly 48 hours into her CEO role, enough time for media outlets to tie her name to Raxon's leadership, enough time for her to go on record, in front of cameras, before the truth hit like a missile. Sure enough, it came like clockwork. Day 2, 9:03 a.m. Federal subpoena delivered to Raxon headquarters. Chelsea's name on the top line. By lunch, 3 board members had publicly resigned. By dinner, Chelsea was no longer the face of Raxon. She was its fall girl. And I had made sure the world watched her take the stage, just in time for the curtain to collapse. I knew what was coming before she did. I had seen it happen before, on the battlefield, when enemy assets were frozen mid-operation. It always happened the same way. First the silence, then the confusion, then the panic. At 6:41 a.m., my phone lit up. Read. All accounts flagged. Treasury Department just executed a freeze. Chelsea's world. Every luxury, every account, every offshore trust, locked down. She could not move a single dollar. Her car? Leased through Raxon's executive perks. Her condo? Registered under a shell company tied to their fraudulent bonus payouts. All seized. I knew what she would do next. She tried to call her lawyer, tried to call her mother, even tried to call me. I let it ring. Then came the texts. "Chelsea, you do not have to do this. Chelsea, think of Lily. You are punishing all of us. Chelsea, please." But I was not punishing anyone. I was letting consequences do what they were always meant to do. Arrive, late but loud. Reed called again. "She is finished. We will be filing the civil claim this week. She will have to answer in court, personally." I stepped into Lily's room. She was packing for school, humming. "Daddy, will you be picking me up later today?" I smiled. Yes, always. Because that was what this war had always been about. Not money, not revenge, truth. And who deserved to carry it forward? It happened at school. Lily's teacher pulled me aside at pickup. She had a tough morning, she whispered. Something about a news story? I felt my chest tighten. We sat in the truck for a long time before I asked, "Sweetheart, do you want to talk about anything?" She stared out the window. "Mommy said you were lying," she whispered. "But everyone in class saw the news. They said she is going to jail." Her voice cracked on that last word. "She said it was just drama," Lily continued. "But I saw the video. You looked sad and honest." I reached across and held her hand. "You do not ever have to pick sides," I said. "You just need to know one thing. I will never lie to you. Ever." Lily looked at me, her eyes brimming. "She lied to me, Daddy. About everything." I pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. "You are safe now. That is all that matters." Later that night, she drew a new picture. It was just me and her. A tree, a house, a small sign on the lawn that read, "Home." No Troy, no Chelsea, just us. It said everything. Chelsea had lost more than a job, more than money. She had lost the one person who used to look at her with complete trust. And nothing I could have done would have hit harder than that. Because some justice is not public. It is silent, but permanent. I had avoided the spotlight until that point. But the networks kept calling. Documentarians, news anchors, podcasts. So I chose one. A veteran-run show called Unbroken Valor. I wore no uniform, just a black shirt. The host, a Marine named Tyler, looked me in the eye. "We have heard bits and pieces. But what really happened? So I told them, start to finish. The lies, the affair, the corporate conspiracy, the custody battle, the trap. I did not cry. I did not flinch. I spoke like I was giving a mission report, because that is what it had become. At the end, Tyler asked me the question I had been preparing for. If you could say one thing to her, to Chelsea, what would it be? I looked into the camera. Steady. Clear. I hope you learned something from all of this. Not about me. About yourself. And what you were willing to destroy, just to pretend you were someone else. He nodded slowly. And what about your daughter? My voice softened. She is the only thing that kept me from breaking. The interview aired 2 days later. It trended within hours. Clips spread. Quotes reposted. The world had heard my voice. And finally, it was louder than her lies. When the press turned on Chelsea, it turned fast. Brands that once featured her on billboards quietly deleted their campaigns. A podcast she co-hosted removed every episode overnight. And those same friends, who once laughed behind my back, they ghosted her. I watched one of them, Jen, do an Instagram live. I had no idea what Chelsea was involved in, she said. We cut ties months ago. Lies. I had receipts, screenshots, voice notes, but I did not need to expose them anymore. They were already running scared. Chelsea tried to post an apology. Long caption, a photo of her holding her stomach, the pregnancy now obvious. She wrote about healing and being misunderstood. The comments section? Brutal. People called her a fraud, a manipulator. Some even blamed her for Troy's arrest, as if he was not just as guilty. Reed messaged me a simple line. Public opinion, 92% in your favor. That is rare and powerful. This was not just about karma anymore. It was about optics. Every brand that had aligned with Chelsea was now scrambling to delete the evidence. Even Raxon's own social media wiped her name from their timeline. Just 3 weeks ago, she had stood at their podium. Now, she did not exist. Chelsea had built her world on curated perfection. The filtered smile. The corporate power pose. But real truth? It does not need filters. And in the silence left behind, only one story remained. Mine. I kept it simple. A manila envelope. No return address. Inside, a copy of Lily's original custody paperwork, the DNA report, a still image of the subpoena with her signature, and a baby onesie, folded neatly taped to it, a handwritten note. This one is yours. The other never was. I did not send it out of cruelty. I sent it so she could sit with the truth in silence. Because while she had played games with lawyers, money, and media, I had never lied about one thing. Lily was my daughter. Chelsea was never her legal mother. Not by law. Not by blood. Not by heart. Harper tracked the delivery confirmation. Signed for. Received. That night, Chelsea posted nothing. No stories. No captions. No statements. Just silence. I imagined her opening the box. Seeing that onesie. Feeling the full weight of everything she had destroyed. Sometimes revenge does not need a camera crew. Sometimes it needs a soft, silent reminder. This is what you lost. And this is why you do not get it back. It came from the board. A statement released across every major platform. We were misled by internal personnel. We thank Mr. Logan Barrett for his bravery, his service, and his unwavering integrity. He is a reminder of the values this company failed to uphold. They named her. Flat out. Said she compromised ethics. Acknowledged the data leaks. Promised full cooperation with federal authorities. And they did it without warning. No prep. No call. Chelsea was at a doctor's appointment when it aired. Harper tracked her phone's GPS ping. She stayed parked in the lot for over an hour after the news broke. Because there was nothing left to defend. No one left to speak for her. Not even herself. And in that moment, I did not feel victory. I felt finality. The apology was not for me. It was for everyone she had fooled. But for me, it was confirmation that the storm had passed, and the world knew what really happened. The courthouse was packed. Media vans, protesters, former employees of Raxon demanding accountability. I wore a gray suit. No uniform. I was not there as a soldier. I was there as a man who had endured something darker than war, betrayal without bullets. Chelsea sat 3 rows ahead. No makeup, hair tied back. She looked tired, smaller, alone. Troy was not there. He was already behind bars in Panama, fighting extradition. Her attorney stood stiffly. Read her plea. Ms. Barrett regrets her involvement. She asks for leniency, given her unborn child and lack of criminal history. The judge did not blink. This court does not consider betrayal, greed, or perjury to be victimless. Then he turned to me. Mr. Barrett, would you like to speak? I stood. I came here today not for vengeance, but for truth. I gave this country everything. All I asked for in return was honesty from the people I loved. Chelsea stared at the floor. She never looked at me. And now, I continued, I just want peace. For my daughter, and for every service member who has ever been used and thrown away like they were nothing. The room was still. The judge nodded. Motion accepted. Custody is returned. Charges proceed to federal review. I walked out of that building with the sun on my face. And for the first time in years, I was not looking over my shoulder. I was walking toward a future that finally felt mine. The sentencing hearing was private. No cameras, no headlines. Just 4 people. Chelsea, her lawyer, the judge, and me. She wore all black, but not for respect. For optics. Her attorney read a statement. She has lost her income, her home, her reputation. She is raising a child alone. Your Honor, we ask for mercy. Chelsea stood. I made mistakes, she said, voice trembling. But I never meant to hurt anyone. I was misled too. I am not the villain in this. The judge folded his hands. Ms. Barrett, you had multiple chances to come clean. You did not. You orchestrated and benefited from deception. And now you ask for mercy. He leaned forward. I have given combat sentencing. I have ruled on murder trials. But I have rarely seen this level of emotional warfare. Chelsea's face froze. You will not serve prison time. Not today. But your life will be lived under legal supervision for the next decade. You will pay restitution. You will lose all corporate rights. And your name will remain in public records as a convicted federal informant. Then came the words she could never erase. And the man you tried to destroy now legally has full custody of the child you claimed as your own. Chelsea collapsed into the chair, lips trembling. But I did not watch her fall. I stood, nodded once to the judge, and walked away, because the loudest revenge is delivered in complete silence. The letter came from a holding facility in Panama. Scrawled handwriting. No envelope. Logan, I made mistakes. I was selfish. I regret it all. Please, let me see Lily. Just once. She deserves the truth. Troy, I folded the page and stared out the window. He was not asking for forgiveness. He was asking for access to a child he never cared about until it was convenient. I took a deep breath and went upstairs. Lily was reading a book on her bed. I sat beside her. Sweetheart, I said softly. Do you remember Troy? She nodded slowly. Mommy's boyfriend. Yes. He wrote a letter. He wants to say goodbye. Only if you want to. She thought about it for a while, then closed her book and looked up. No, he was never nice to me. Simple. Final. I kissed her forehead. That is all I needed to know. I burned the letter that night. Because some people do not deserve last chances. Especially the ones who only seek closure when everything else is gone. I had promised Lily I would show her where I trained. Where I became the man I am. So we packed 2 bags, drove 6 hours north, and stood beneath the Colorado sky where my boots once hit the dirt every morning at 0400. It was quiet now. No yelling. No orders. Just wind. Trees. She ran across the field where we used to run drills. Laughed as her hair whipped behind her. Free. I sat on an old log and watched her. A commanding officer once told me, war changes your body. Fatherhood changes your soul. He was right. Lily sat beside me, holding a pine cone. This place feels like you, she said. I smiled. It made me strong. But you made me better. We stayed there until the sun dipped behind the ridge. And for the first time in this entire storm, I felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. The book deal came unexpectedly. A small publishing house run by veterans wanted to share my story. Not the scandal, the recovery. At first, I said no. But then I realized it was not about me anymore. It was about every soldier who came home to betrayal. Every father who lost his child to lies. Every man told to be quiet and move on. So I wrote it, page by page, memory by memory. It was not perfect. It was not bitter. It was honest. And when it hit shelves, it did not explode like a blockbuster. It spread quietly, passed from hand to hand, in military barracks, in divorce courts, in waiting rooms of family law firms. It gave a voice to those who had lost theirs. And every time someone emailed me to say, "Thank you for writing what I could never say," I felt something real, something healing. Because speaking out is not weakness. It is survival. And I had finally learned how to do both. It was an early morning in April when Reed forwarded me the update. Subject: Chelsea Barrett. Hospital admission confirmed. Delivery status: one male infant. I stared at the email for a full minute. Part of me expected this to be the last time I would ever hear her name. But life has a way of dragging consequences across the finish line. The child's legal father, the Raxon executive she had secretly been seeing, had already denied paternity through his lawyer. Now Chelsea was alone. And the baby? Born into paperwork, headlines, and an investigation still echoing through her name. She filed a petition for protection, financial relief, custody enforcement. The court denied it all. Why? Because the man she named had already countersued for fraud. He claimed Chelsea had misled him, falsified communications, and used the pregnancy as leverage during federal investigations. The court ruled for a mandatory paternity test, and until the results came back, no child support, no privileges, no rights. I sat outside Lily's school that afternoon, watching her run laps on the field. Free, light, everything Chelsea's new child would not be. And I felt something strange. Not satisfaction, not anger, pity. Because some people never learn from the pain they cause. They just carry it forward, one generation at a time. But I would never let that happen in my home. Not with Lily. Not with me. Not ever again. The envelope arrived unmarked. Inside was a handwritten note, stiff cursive, blue ink. Dear Logan, we are writing this not for our daughter, but for the man who raised our granddaughter better than we ever expected. We were blind. We believed Chelsea's words, her versions of events, because we wanted to. We did not ask the right questions, and we did not see what she was becoming. But we watched the truth unfold. And now, we have nothing but shame. We know we cannot undo what happened. But please know, we support your custody fully. We are grateful for the stability you have given Lily. If you ever allow it, we would like to be a part of her life, properly, quietly, respectfully. Sincerely, Martha and Alan Barrett. I sat at the table, rereading it 3 times. There were no excuses in it. No manipulation. Just reflection. And that, more than anything else, meant it was real. Lily came downstairs holding a crayon drawing. "Can I send this to Grandma and Grandpa?" she asked. I paused. "Do you want to talk to them again?" She nodded. "But only if they are nice to you too." I smiled. "They wrote a letter today? I think they finally understand." She hugged me tight. "I want everyone to be okay, even if it takes a long time." It was such a simple thing. But in that moment, she taught me something I had nearly forgotten. That healing is not weakness. It is strength, earned, not given. And sometimes, forgiveness is not about who deserves it. It is about who needs to see someone survive. The offer was generous. 6 figures. Full creative control. A multi-part docuseries. Interviews. Reconstructions. Even a fictionalized drama pitch. But I said no. Not because I was scared. Because I was done. I had told the truth. In court. On paper. In my book. The story had done what it was meant to do. I did not want to watch it be glamorized. Or rebranded into a story about scandal and tabloid drama. Because at its core, this was never about betrayal. It was about resilience. "Are you sure?" Reed asked. "This would change your entire financial life." I nodded. I already changed my real life. That is enough. Instead, I asked the publisher to donate all book royalties to veteran mental health support. Set up a fund in Lily's name for education and therapy services. That was the legacy I wanted. Not fame, not followers. Freedom. Because I had already lived through a story that broke the rules of survival. And still, I was standing, not as a victim, but as a father, a soldier, a man who chose to rebuild instead of retaliate. Sometimes power is not about who hears your story. It is about who you become after it ends. It happened quietly. No headlines. No cameras. Chelsea left the city 2 months after the final hearing. She sold what was left of her name, used her middle name on the lease papers, and moved to a smaller town where no one asked questions. But even there, whispers followed. Background checks. Articles. Archived blog posts with her face still cached in the corner. You cannot delete what the internet remembers. I heard through her old lawyer that she took a part-time admin job at a dentist's office. No social media. No promotions. No one lining up to hear her side anymore. For the first time in her life, she was just another name in the system. No spotlight, no stage, and most importantly, no audience. I did not feel joy, just clarity. This was never about ruining her. It was about saving the pieces of me she tried to bury, and making sure Lily never confused attention for love. Because now I understood something deeper. When people betray you, they lose the right to be central in your story. Chelsea had exited mine, and I had no interest in reading the sequel. She found them in a small box, tucked beneath old journals and worn-out boots. My medals, commendations, photos of missions I never talked about. She held one up and tilted her head. "Daddy, what are these?" I sat beside her and held the bronze star in my palm. "They are awards," I said, "for the things I did before I became your dad." She looked confused. "But why did you hide them?" I smiled gently. "Because being a soldier mattered. But being your father matters more." Her face lit up. She handed me the medal. "Can I keep this one?" I nodded. "You can keep all of them. You are the reason they mean something now." That night, she hung them above her bed like they were treasure. No idea what wars they represented, only what they meant to me, to us. And in her innocent joy, I felt something unexpected. Forgiveness. Not for Chelsea, not for what she did, but for myself, for every time I stayed silent, for every second I thought I had lost who I was. Because I never really lost myself. I had just been waiting to come back stronger. The house was quiet. Lily was already asleep, her favorite stuffed bear tucked under her chin. I walked to the back porch, coffee in hand, and looked up at the stars. No alarms. No noise. No fear. Just peace. I had won more than a custody battle. I had reclaimed my name, my dignity, my future. And I did it without losing the man I fought to become. The betrayal, the lies, the revenge, all of it had shaped me. But none of it defined me. What defined me was survival. And what saved me was truth. Now, I was not just a soldier, not just a victim, not even a storyteller. I was a father, standing in the aftermath of war, still whole, still standing, still holding on to the one thing no one could take from me: hope. And now, I want to ask you something. If this had been your story, would you have stayed silent? Or would you have fought back too? Tell me in the comments, and let me know where you are watching from. I want to know whose story this reached. And if this story gripped you, hit that like button, subscribe for more thrillers and emotional revenge stories, and share this with someone who needs to hear that silence is not the end. It is the start of a comeback. We will meet again soon, in another epic, twist-filled journey. Until then, take care of your heart, and protect your peace. End of story.